Why do they never have me on this show? Saying that you can have the same God while rejecting Christ's divinity and the Trinity is like eggless omelet. Yeah, it makes no sense. It just makes no... Like, it makes me almost cover my mouth like Parker, you know? It's one of the only things that have gotten me to a place where I almost go like this. All right, let's test the audio, make sure you guys can hear.
Hey everyone, welcome to Capturing Christianity. I've got Trent Doherty, Dr. Trent Doherty here, and William Albright. I've had you on the show before.
The documents state a positive they do adore the one true God, but Catholics cope and say they believe they do.
Tonight we are calling out a man named Jay Dyer, and we are inviting him to discuss this topic with us live. And I've got an announcement about that I'm going to make toward the end of the episode. But what we're talking about is what all this is about.
You guys hear it? Okay.
If you've been following online lately, there were some comments made in a back and forth between Timothy Gordon and Jay Dyer on the Tim Pool podcast. And this topic came up. Do Christians and Muslims worship the same God? There are some statements in the Vatican II that basically amount to an affirmative answer to this question, and so people have been talking about this. It's become sort of a hot topic lately, and Jay has been posting a lot of his thoughts on this as well, but he's coming from the negative side of things. So he, as an Orthodox Christian, he thinks that Muslims and Christians do not.
Christopher Scott says for $5, this document states a positive that they do adore the one true God, but Catholics cope and say they believe, and they do, yeah.
Since I am getting fired, I decided to finally make an OnlyFans. Subscribe to Curry Mommy Vagine for more spicy curry content.
Ew, you mean only cows? Is that what you look at, Vagine? Only cows? You scroll through provocative photos of different cows laying out on the grass. You sick. You're a sick little freak, Vagine. You make me sick. Adore. Yeah, I did see a recent video though, Christopher, distinguishing between worship and adore. I forget who did the video. So that's something to explore at least. You know what I mean? So I guess we'll see what they say.
Worship the same God. He's been giving arguments for his views. He apparently has in his possession some church councils, some Catholic councils that have ostensibly or allegedly rejected the view. We're going to get to that in a little bit later on in the show today, but tonight we are calling out Jay and inviting him on the channel to discuss this with us live. And what we're going to do is we're going to let Dr. Trent Doherty, who is actually a philosopher, he was is it fair to call you a philosopher of language?
I was a licensed philosopher of language, yes.
There you go.
I attended in my specialty, my dissertation was in the philosophy of language and as it applied to epistemology. And half of my dissertation committee was in the linguistics department and half was in the philosophy department. So, and I taught.
Well, the reason why I bring that up, sorry, finish your thought.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just was going to say I taught philosophy of language at the undergraduate and graduate level. I taught PhD candidates philosophy of language, taught undergrads philosophy of language, published in the philosophy of language, and
smaller, I guess.
I say, my application of that isn't that, and therefore I know so much, but it's like, and nobody ever had a theory according to which the answer to this question would be no. I mean, it's just
here. We'll put me in the underwear.
What's wild? What is wild is that there are so many people. I mean, I even posted this on my.
What's so wild?
My YouTube community tab, and I was giving a sort of short defense of an affirmative answer to this question.
Adore and worship are synonymous within Catholic theology.
Why is that not being read now? Hold on a second. I messed something up here. L's in the chat for Jimbob. Sorry that didn't get read. Adore and worship are synonymous within Catholic theology. Okay, that's what it was.
The same God. There's just one side is mistaken. You can still refer to the same thing, and one side can be mistaken about the true nature of that thing, the reference. So I gave a little defense of that, and the comments were pretty wild. Like there was so many people disagreeing.
So many people were so upset. Oh. Yeah, 1.5. Good call. Good call, Mello. And then I said something, and it was like, wow, they got really upset about that.
And I even posted a poll. I don't know if you guys saw that. I posted a poll with thousands of responses where 85% of people, and I'm sure that included Catholics, 85% of people answered no, that they don't worship the same God. It is wild stuff. So this is like, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why people are holding this view. But the reason why I brought
about that.
Okay, good. But the reason why I brought Trent on is because...
Wait, you're confused why people hold the view that Muslims and Christians don't worship the same God? I don't know. Let's do a very simple premised argument. Premise 1, Christians worship Jesus Christ, the second person of the Godhead, Logos incarnate. Premise 2, Muslims reject the divinity of Jesus Christ. Conclusion, Muslims don't worship the same God as Christians. Capturing Christianity. How is it that hard? Dude's like a peacock feather, like that became a human.
Philosophy of language is sort of wrapped up in this question. You guys are going to see why that is, why that's the case, as Trent starts.
Yeah, even Muslims don't agree.
To lay out his view, but then I wanted to just mention later on in the stream, if you stick around with us and you
as you thought I was in I should do this format. You know what I mean? I should totally insert myself into these panels and make it look like I'm the fourth person and just yell at them. That's like a whole new category. I think I'm going to start doing it.
And you want to watch. William is going to lay out some Eastern Orthodox sources that are going to surprise you guys. And it's going to be a very, very informative show, very informative night. So I want you guys to stick around. And then toward the end of the show, I'm going to make an announcement. Okay, a big, very big announcement. You want to stick around for that too. So Trent, let's get into your views on why do you, as a philosopher of language, someone who is very informed on this, why do you answer this question in the affirmative? Don't you know that Muslims think that God is not a Trinity? Don't you know that, Trent?
Man, I probably should have read something about Islam before coming on this show because you just...
Why do they all talk like actual homosexuals? What is it? What is it? It's not the speed. I swear it's not the speed. It's not because I just increased it 1.5. They're so condescending already.
Blew my mind. So one thing that I want to make clear is that I'm not applying my view to anything. It's not like I've got a view on this, and according to my view, the answer to the question is yes, Christians and Muslims worship the same God. It's that there's no extant view of reference such that the answer is no. There doesn't even so maybe in the super chat somebody can come up with something very very rare or something, but
rich and rare.
It's going to be something really, really weird. So mainline,
it's going to be something really weird.
In mainline philosophy of language, when the way that names stick and the way.
So wait a second. The entire argument is a word concept fallacy that Allah, the word Allah means God, therefore Muslims worship the same God. Okay, cool. My God's Moloch. I used a word God for Moloch.
Way that descriptions end up referring is something that the analytic philosophers in the early 20th century were super interested in. So in 1905, Russell wrote a very famous...
He dresses like the rugs in Las Vegas.
Essay.
And this is someone who wears floral shirts, but not anymore. Not anymore.
On denoting. And Russell was super super stoked about his new mathematical logic. And so if anybody's ever had predicate logic, then that's what we're talking about, because Russell really, Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead published a work called Principia Mathematica, and that laid out the mathematical logic, the predicate logic that people know today in their undergrad courses. And so they took that tool and they applied it to lots of really interesting, odd cases. So one way that so take non-referring phrases. So the famous example, the textbook example, is a phrase like "the present king of France is bald." So take that statement: "The present king of France is bald." Well, that phrase, the subject phrase, "the present king of France," is non-referring. There is no present king of France. So Russell says, "Oh, look at my theory shows why this is false, because that sentence transcribes into there is an X such that X is the present king of France and X is bald." And conjunction being truth functional is true.
This is what they have to do to make V2 work. This is what they have to do.
Only if both conjuncts are true. The first conjunct is false, therefore the conjunction is false. Therefore, Bertrand Russell, have rendered lucid why the statement "the present king of France" is false.
Did your super chat come through, Mark? Mark. Christopher? Was it a Bob chat or a super chat? I didn't see one from Mark.
Well, later on, Strawson wrote a work called On Referring, and he's like, well, that's not quite right, because I don't want to say the statement "the present king of France" is false. I want to say it's highly misleading. It's got a mistaken presupposition. It's neither true nor false, because the noun phrase doesn't refer. And so non-referring phrases just don't even have truth values. Well, then a little later, and sometime in the 60s.
Yeah, they're doing like what Jews do on their rest day. They're doing that with language.
I don't really remember when. This guy Keith Denellen comes along. He's like, well, so Frege's famous essay "Sense and Reference," it was published it's published in German in the late 19th century and is translated into English around the same time that Strawson published his thing. So Denellen comes out and he says, look, it's more complicated than either of you want to think. There's two different ways of using descriptions. There's an attributive description, and then there's a referring use of descriptions. So
Bryce says the predicate logic literally doesn't work with their case because the proper cache out of the value has to be identical to the referent. Well, that's the referent in this case are not the same. It's really
story time with PhD man.
It's really simple. What are you referring to when you ask a Muslim? What are you referring to? Who are you referring to? When you say God, the word God, Allah. Oh, Allah means God. Cool. What are you referring to when you say that? Because someone could say a rock. By their logic, the referent would extend to anyone who worships a rock. An actual rock. A physical rock. So? What the hell? What are they talking about? It's really freaking annoying.
Mark super chatted 62.
Sending love from the Netherlands. Let's go Jimbob muscle skin tone in this too.
Jimbob, flexed bicep emoji.
That's also really annoying. What the hell? I might have to clear out my entire OBS and restart, like remake. Not even getting that sound. Are you guys getting that sound? Huh. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, I see what happened. Okay. Never mind. Pay no attention to me. Pay no damn attention to me, okay? Al's in the chat.
This is my own example. So take take the phrase. Suppose I say,
sorry about that. My I'm still working on my audio after 7 years. 55 from Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. Sending love from the Netherlands. Let's go, Jimbob. Thank you so much. Huge donation there. I really appreciate that. Very generous of you, Mark. Sorry, I didn't hear it.
The tallest man in France has a mustache. Bob. And being French, it's going to be one of those little mustaches. It's not going to be like a Cameron mustache, and it's not going to be like what William's mustache would be, man. Right. If you went full, you need it. Please, just for us, shave right here, and next time we see you, have the big old handlebar coming down, right? But you're not really going to see that in France. In France, it's going to be the little mustache. That's the only way I know how to describe it. So I say the tallest man in France has a mustache. Well, we know that there is a tallest man in France. Or we'd say the man than which none is taller in case it's a tie, whatever. We know that's a referring phrase. But I might use it in an attributive way where I just mean whoever that is, right? The tallest man in France, whoever that turns out to be. That man, let's say I'm predicting, has a mustache because of something about percentages of tall men that have mustaches and whatever, right? But I'm sure when I use the description, the tallest man in France, I'm sure to capture some individual. I have referred to some individual. I don't know their name. I don't know if they're inside of France or outside of France at the moment. I don't know where they were born. I don't know what year they were born. But I know this much. There is a tallest man in France, and I am attributing to him having a mustache. And that statement's going to be true or false just in case he either does or does not have a mustache. Now, but I can also, there's what I think he called the, just the referring phrase. So let's say I'm in France.
One thing I wanted to point out really quickly that's important here is that you're still referring to someone even if the statement is false.
Like clown level shit, dude.
Yeah,
really
for sure. I mean, absolutely, yes. I mean, it guarantees, when I use a description attributively, it guarantees reference in a case like level.
That. And so I want to make one quick point. I want to make one quick point. What you are laying out is very, very important. I want the audience to understand what you're saying because it really does hit home as to the whole debate that we're having on this issue. And as you mentioned, the idea of Christians and Muslims worship the same God, the very same ideology, the very same theological principles can be applied in sacred scripture to pagans, to Jews that reject Christ, and to a lot of other. The way you're laying it out, just very briefly, and I'll let you continue your thought there. I'm reminded of Romans 1:20 to 21, and it's a fantastic passage. If you brothers don't mind, I'll read it briefly. Is that all right with you, Cameron? For since the creation of the world is invisible.
The createdness of, sorry. I was actually going to quote it from memory, but go ahead.
You know, you're an animal, man. You know by memory, man.
No, it's just the natural theologian's favorite verse in the Bible, man.
Yeah, it's great, right? So it says his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen because they're understood through what has been made. So people are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God or give him thanks, but they became futile in their thoughts and their senseless hearts were darkened. What is the great St. Paul doing? He's affirming natural knowledge of God, his existence, the divine nature, and power, and he's telling you they can be known by reason and observation of creation, even outside of Revelation. And the phrase that blows me away, and I know Trent knows it here, they knew God. What is that confirming? It confirms that, true, though limited, pay attention to what we're saying, true, though limited knowledge of the one God was present among the Gentiles.
Thank you, Virgin.
Though many did turn to idolatry. So he's not denying, St. Paul is not denying that they knew the true God, only saying they failed to respond. How? Well, they failed to respond in proper worship and what have you.
If I understand Vitro correctly, hot dogs and hamburgers are both meat, therefore they're the same. Am I mistaken? Or is it worse?
It's pretty much that bad. Yeah, actually. If I understand you too, hot dogs and hamburgers are both meat, therefore it's kind of that bad. I mean, Jay uses the mother thing, which is a really good analogy.
Henley super chatted $10.
A murder occurs. Witnesses may have different descriptions leading to different suspects, but there's one true murderer. The other suspects are not the murderer, just B/C the witness claims it is.
Yeah, it's also that bad. Yeah, that's also true, that it's that bad as well. So, it's a lot bad.
Kalamrak super chatted $5.
Only 10 more hurdles before I get to the point.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's like Jay uses the mother part. He says like, okay, well, my mother gave birth and your mother gave birth. So when I say mother, it's the same mother.
Does this mean that Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons believe in the same Jesus as Christians too?
Yeah, you'd have to really extend this.
The blonde dude is too excited for this debate. It bothers me.
Yeah, Wi-Fi, you'd have to extend. You might as well just extend it to every god who uses the term God. I mean, simple. You just believe in any god that's vague, that's the creator of all things. But then they go, well, Muslims actually argue they require the Abrahamic paradigm. Well, so do Gnostics. The blonde guy is too excited. He's really excited he got brought in. He's like pinch hitting, so he's like super pumped. He's like, I promise, guys, I will bunt for you.
Perfectly with intention.
And the Protestants are going to be going nuts because the Catholics are getting all biblical. But the natural extension of that biblically is Paul's statement in Acts 17 when he's speaking to the Areopagus, and he talks about, hey, I saw this one altar, it says to the unknown God, and that's similar to Denellan's attributive sense. It's like there is a God out there we don't know, and the things that they knew about. He even talks about God being the ground of being. He quotes Epimenides,
Acts 17
he quotes a couple of different Greek philosophers.
Muslims predicate that Christ is not
he's the one
God.
in whom
These
we have our being.
predicates are
And so
impossible
he's like,
to
y'all
reconcile.
actually referred to the right God through this description, but you didn't. There's a lot of things you didn't know about him, and I'm going to fill in the blanks here. But he doesn't say that he even talks about idolatry, but what he doesn't say is, oh, this is a non-referring phrase or anything like that. No, he says, and of course they being the philosophers there on Mars Hill, they're the ones who looked at the createdness of the world that Romans 1:20 picks out and inferred that there was a God that was the ground of being, and he's just saying, hey, and guess what? He who is, I am who I am, also sent his son to die for our sins, etc. Okay, so now that is right, Cameron. That when you use it in attributive sense, it picks somebody else, it picks somebody out, even if it turns out that the tallest man in France does not have a mustache. But also notice this. Suppose that we're in a party and we're in France, and I have partied in France, by the way. And I see this super tall guy, and I'm just like, there's no way there's anybody taller than this in France. This is the tallest man in France. And I've gone through a bad inference, or somebody jokingly at the party said, that's the tallest man in France. And they're just kind of like saying it colloquially. And I think, oh, well, my host here is informing me that, oh my God, we have as a guest here, the tallest man in France. And so, and I say something like, oh, hey, I call my wife, and he's like, got a mustache. I go, hey, the tallest man in France has a mustache. And let's say we're on a FaceTime video. I'm like, the tallest man in France right there. Or behind me, I usually do it in selfies. Like, look at his little mustache. He's got a mustache. Now, notice that even when my referring phrase itself is false.
Didn't read it that time. I don't know why it didn't read it that time. I gotta figure this out. I apologize, guys. I think I messed with so many things with orthothugs that it's just everything on my channel is not working now. So I did a debate with on this. Catholics said it's the same God if it's monotheistic and claims to be the God of Abraham. I drew an elephant with a horn and asked if it was the same. He said yes. Man, that's a bullet. That is quite the bullet to bite. Wow. Wow. That's quite a bullet to bite.
My description. I've still picked out that guy because context, Denellen says, is sufficient to locate that individual as the referent of my description. So Denellen comes along, gets all frege on Russell and Strawson, and says, you don't even need to have a true description in the noun phrase to correctly to utter a sentence that expresses a true proposition. And this is kind of the mainline view, and it's certainly something like it is the mainline view. And then, what with Frege's sense and reference being translated right around that same time, I mean, it's like nobody doesn't think like this. And in fact, it goes back to the Stoics. The Stoics had views like this. So one of the example from Stoic philosophy is called the hooded man paradox. And I think it's somebody's brother where they're out somewhere and this man is in a cloak and his cloak is covering his, he's shrouding him. And this is really sus to this guy. And he's like, man, I wouldn't trust that guy. That guy, nobody goes.
Icons are used to venerate God P2. Islam and Christianity worship the same God P3. The black stone is therefore a valid icon of God for veneration.
Yeah, let me see. That one's more confusing for me, Bryce. Icons are used to venerate God. Islam and Christianity worship the same God. The black stone, therefore, is a valid. Oh, yeah. That would be an entailment. Yeah, that's a good one. But then again, yeah, that's a really good one, dude. I actually just skipped to, like, if you're worshiping the same God as Islam, would there be anything actually wrong with going to a mosque and worshiping with them and just doing it, like, slightly less correct? You know what I mean?
Goes around in a cloak like that, it's worthy of trust. That person, do not trust him. But unbeknownst to him, it's his brother, whom he considers to be the most trustworthy man he knows. And so they're like, well, does he think that person is trustworthy or does he not? He attributes contradictory predicates to one and the same guy, So, but it's still the same guy that he's referring to. And that was one of the medievals referred to that distinction as de dicto reference and de re reference. Reference to the thing versus
Why
reference under
is
description,
Jimbob
which is a
reviewing
precursor
a grinder
to
Zoom
Frege's
meeting?
sense and reference and Denellen's referential.
I don't know, David Attenborough. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Use of descriptions and his attributive use of descriptions. And I think that's exactly what's going on in Romans 1:20, I think it's exactly what's going on in Acts 17, and it's the only kind of theory. Now, there's nuances, and you've got Chalmers' diagonal, two-dimensional diagonal proposition semantics, things like that. You can get fancier with it, but you're not going to get less fancy with it. And there is basically no serious view of reference on which you're not going to get an affirmative answer to Jews, Christians, and Muslims referring to the same God.
So let's go through some super chats. Yeah, super chat. This one saying, thank you guys for covering this. This is a topic that I struggle with. God bless. So thank you for sending that in, Agro Monk. And then Ethan has a super chat, and I think he's just trying to raise an objection here with Scripture. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever confesses the Son has the Father also. 1 John 2:23.
Okay, so how about I want to take the first super chat, and William takes the second super chat. So
I find it interesting that they just do this and they don't have a fourth person countering. They just have a jerk fest. You know. Now I'm glad they're going to do a debate on it, but
are Hindu prayers valid for God's worship? Couldn't I just make my own denomination so long as I mean the God of Abraham in my practice?
Yeah, that actually is true, Justin. Why not? Why not? You might as well just, like, you know. I mean, that's going to be really brutal when people actually start doing it. I bet the blonde dude sells life insurance. I think so. Justin, thank you. 5 gifted memberships from AK. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that.
It hurts me. It pains me. It hurts my heart that people think this is an issue to struggle about. It really does. Guys, this is nothing to struggle about. Nothing of any consequence follows from the fact that Jews and Christians and Muslims are referring to the same being, because we disagree deeply about some of the most important things we attribute to that being. Okay. So, in fact, notice this, that if we aren't referring to the same being, then we're not even disagreeing. Okay. So I've got a couple of people that work for me named Jesus. And one of them is a pretty hardcore alcoholic, and his wife is constantly calling me to find out where he is, or tell me he's not showing up to work, or telling me to give his pay to her.
Wow,
and so I have
a
contact in my phone that says, when you look at it, it says Jesus' wife. Okay. So, like, if somebody said, Jesus doesn't have a wife, we're not disagreeing, right? Because we ain't talking about the same Jesus, right? So we're not even disagreeing because we're not even remotely referring to the same being. But, I mean, you're going to say that Muslims and Christians don't disagree about God's attributes when we say God is perfectly loving and Muslims don't? We're not disagreeing?
P1 Mormons believe Bigfoot is Cain. P2 Mormons believe black people are descendant from Cain. P3 Mormons believe black people are Bigfoots.
That's also correct. Wow, even Vagine. Drawing out this terrible line of reasoning. And every single knee will bow to... Oh.
In the end, every single knee will bow to Christ. Orthodox.
Thank you, David Attenborough.
They're just okay, fine, then we're not... That's just a silly view to think that we're not...
He literally just proved they aren't the same God. And he's still smiling.
Disagreeing? Of course we're disagreeing. Of course we're disagreeing. And I can talk a little bit more about...
Unbelievable.
RCS said in chat Russia is building a multi-religion center. It's the same, when the difference is that Vitro is dogma, the former is ecumenism / non-dogma.
Okay.
Funny hill to die on, but go ahead, papists lol.
Yes.
Semantics and how names and descriptions pick up their reference that make it obvious that we're referring to the same being, the main part of which being that Muhammad was literally reading the Old and New Testaments and saying, okay, these guys, because remember, we're people of the book according to the Quran, right? I've read the Quran page, cover to cover. And there's a lot of true good stuff in there. And it's very, very clear that he was reading Jewish and Christian sources and interacting with them and trying to...
You mean perverting them? Interacting with them? Dude. You sicko. I don't care how new your haircut is. I don't care if you just went to Floyd's. I don't care if your beard is more trimmed than mine currently. The dancing around the language is so disgusting to me.
JB, doesn't this entail there isn't any reason for the revelation of Jesus or the cross or church if they worship the same God?
Yes. Yes. In fact, it could all just be vague. And you're just kind of like plucking from different things, and as long as you guys put it all in the same soup batch, you call the soup batch the truth, and it's the closest thing to the truth, but it's like, you know, oh, don't worry, you know, that religion is the carrots. They're still being cut, but they're on their way to the soup. Okay. This guy's dancing around saying, well, he clearly read the... Yeah, dude. Islam has Gnostic roots, first of all. It takes revelation of Christianity. It takes what it wants. It discards what it doesn't. It scrapes together some pseudo-religion in a timely fashion to justify the invasion of Persia. It's not that hard, guys. It's not true.
Revise and extend them. Now, he got it really, really, really wrong. Yeah. But when he says Jesus did not actually die on the cross, he swooned, he's talking about the same Jesus. We disagree. I believe that Jesus died fully on the cross. Muslims think that he just appeared to, but this is not like he's talking about Jesus, my gardener. Okay? We disagree. And
based on this reasoning, if he follows and he says, but it's the same God, well, then you'd have to agree with Arianism and all the early ancient heresies, dude. No way around it. They're still referring, right? They're referring to the God, right? But they're perverting. So it's not actually the same.
Wasn't Muhammad supposed to be illiterate according to the Quran, lol?
Wasn't Muhammad supposed to be illiterate? I'm not sure about that.
we disagree only if we're referring to the same being. Take it away, William.
You said nothing. He literally said nothing. He did not earn that sip of vitamin water.
Any thoughts on that though, William? Before we?
I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah, I agree with everything.
You disagree?
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. I'm glad that Trent, though, he did emphasize that Muhammad got a whole lot wrong. I'm glad he did emphasize that. Let me touch upon what Ethan says. Ethan says, let me see if I can get it.
He quotes 1 John 2:23.
Yeah, no one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever confesses the Son has the Father also. Yeah, no doubt. So let's lay it out for you. By the way, Ethan, thank you for your support. Capturing Christianity is a phenomenal platform. Thank you for supporting your brother's platform. Thank you so much for that. And anybody else, if you all are able to, please send super chats. God bless you all. Now, this is a great point he brings up. I do not know if he's trying to offer pushback or what. So let me just lay it out generally. What do we have here in 1 John chapter 2, verse 23? This is a phenomenal Christological and a salvific truth. So I've got the text here in front of me. Before that and after that, you have very clear teaching.
Really terrible,
from
John.
John here, talking about saving knowledge, but not only that, but the union of covenant that we have with God.
Also, that goatee just bothers me. I don't know why.
The one thing that I've emphasized very often in backstage when Trent and myself were talking and just, talking about this whole topic, the one thing that really is important here, and even if you say, well, you know what, William and Trent, I don't know a lot about philosophy, whatever, that's fine. You need to know the basics of metaphysics, even if it's just basics. Metaphysics 101.
Oh, can't wait for this guy to tell us about metaphysics.
On basics, because that helps out a whole lot when we're talking about how different religions use the word God. So right here.
Here comes the massive word concept fallacy. Drum roll.
When we talk about here, we're talking about Muslims, Christians, Jews worshiping the same God. We're laying out that Christians, Jews, and Muslims all refer to the creator of the universe, as Trent just mentioned right now.
The creator of the universe? You mean Christ, through which all was created? You mean that guy? You guys are a bunch of retards. All three of you, you're retarded.